Who's the best dunker, the best passer, the best dressed, and the best friend in the WNBA and the NBA? We talk about it today on In the Zone by Hoop Talks. Come on. I'm Noor Zainab. Crina Mustafa right here with me, and this is called In the Zone. You know what that's about. We're all about the fun stuff here. So today we're going to combine the NBA and the WNBA, and I'm going to shoot some categories, some fun questions that Crina, she has to answer in a limited number of times so she can have the best, exactly, the best, most organic answer straight from your head top. And we're going to mix both leagues. So you're going to have the best time with this. We'll talk about the best dunker, the best passes, things like that. So right off the bat, Crina, who is the best dunker in your opinion?
See, I could sift through all the dunkers ever, but I have to go with my gut here, and it's LeBron James. I just think that and I know Justin's gonna love it when he watches it, if he watches this, but he's just so strong. He's had so many of these really strong dunks at the rim, like the one you just saw over the last how many years of his career, and he's still dunking like that to a certain degree. And so I just think he's one of the best dunkers in the NBA.
For the past 20 years, that's all you've seen LeBron do, since high school to the NBA to now at 38 years old, just dunking. And actually, he could also fit the next category, which is best passer. But who you got?
I don't have LeBron in best passer. Sorry guys. But I do have a Miss Chelsea Gray. She was last year's finals MVP for the Las Vegas Aces. She's went on one of the most historic runs. Not only can she score from it, look at that pass.
Dude,
a behind the back inbounds pass. That is insane. She can see the floor so well, and she'll just pull off these passes that you can't even defend.
Yeah.
How are you even prepped for that?
I've said it all along. I think she needs to teach the NBA point guards on how to pass. I've actually said I want Fred VanVleet to get trained and groomed by Chelsea Gray so he understands the right passes to make, because even when I've watched her play for the Aces, how do you think of that? How do you pass it? How is it never interrupted? And how is it always in the hands of that person that you intended for?
And those are the things that you could practice, in practice.
Yeah.
But it's to do it in a real live game, that takes another level of guts and intelligence.
I am so happy you chose her. Because
I know
I love my good passer. I love a good point guard, and I think Chelsea's the best point guard out there. Male, female, all put together, it's Chelsea Gray. But the next one's going to be the best leader. Crina, who you got for best leader?
I had fun with this one. I chose Jimmy Butler because I just think that the narrative around him for so long has been that he's the bad guy and he's the cancer in the locker rooms. We saw it with the different teams that he was on. Whereas now in Miami, he's been able to thrive, and I think he's fit that Heat culture and has developed into a leader of this team. And now we're seeing that they've been successful. And why? Because they have somebody who has that ambition, who has that hunger, who wants to win, and we're seeing it translate to a well-developed squad.
And it shows you that it wasn't him. As much as those teams wanted to put the blame on him, and the Wolves and Philly, it made it seem he's just this locker room cancer guy who's very aggressive and he can't really get a hold of a team. But you put him in Miami, look at what he's doing with that team. They were in the play-in race, Crina, and now they're going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. And let's face it, a big part, at least half a part, at least a chunk of it goes to Jimmy Butler.
Absolutely. It's a testament to his leadership and how he's been able to lead this Miami Heat squad, who's losing players like Tyler Hero. You lose him for the playoffs, and so but they're still able to upset all these teams, upset the Bucks. They've made it here, and I think it's because of him.
A team with Butler, Lowry, and Kevin Love for leadership. I mean, how can you really go wrong? But we also know we talked about Jimmy Butler before this episode too, about how he's one of the best dressed in the NBA for us. But now let's put together WNBA and NBA.
Yeah.
Who is the best dressed with the whole roster there?
I know half of my picks today will probably include Jimmy Butler, but I had to go off the board for this one and go with Didi Richards. She just got waived by the New York Liberty, but I think she's one of the most fashionable players in the league. And in basketball, the fits that she pulls off are just incredible. And she wears, we talked about kind of last week on The Zone, she wears the confidence that comes with the fits. And to me, I love seeing the women dress up too, because I feel they're so creative in how they look at her. She's flawless. Gorgeous. Her style is really good. I always look forward to seeing her game day outfits. I love the way she poses for the pictures, and so I chose her to be my most fashionable.
You can't go wrong. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit ignorant to it when I searched up her images and everything. I was like, damn, She's got a good stylist or she knows exactly what she's doing. So good for her. And let's stay on the trend of dresses, but let's stick to best jersey. Who's the best jersey you'd want to rock?
I know you and I are like very like-minded on this one, but I chose the Phoenix Suns, their Valley jerseys. When I think of the best jersey, I think of that one. I love the way the colors kind of mesh together against the black. To me, it's a very calming, very natural look that perfectly encapsulates like the Valley.
Yeah, I think black is just a very easy color to go with, and when you do black right, as the Suns have done, Breeze, I think we talked about it last time too. It was one of our favorite jerseys for the past 2-3 years now, and there could be teams coming up and taking over, but I think the Suns really figured out the right, as you said, the right experiment ingredients of like having neutral tones but also having fun stuff and making it like pop a little bit, but also
they're
not
bold
too
in
much.
a good way.
Exactly, absolutely. All right, so talked about everything. What's your favorite soundbite? We can talk about it in the past year, whatever, but I think let's just go back to the past year to make it easier on you.
Yeah, I think there's so many good sound bites, like when players get mic'd up.
Yeah.
And I think that like from these I know we're recently in the playoffs now, so that's kind of the first thing that popped in my mind, but it was like Jimmy Butler again, just like yelling, "I own you" to Drew Holiday during the Heat Bucks series. And like it was so funny because they were super cool about it after. They dapped each other up, like they were friends, they were buddies. They understand that trash talk is like on the court, and that's part of what I really love, that he can go out there and be like, look at Drew Holiday in his face, be like, "I own you," and then after the game be like, "Oh, you're my buddy." Like I love that. It's so funny to watch. Like Jimmy Butler is an entertainer. He loves to put on a show, and I love, like, he's been like, I could have chosen like 10 different moments of Jimmy Butler trash talking throughout the playoffs alone, but this was definitely my favorite.
I feel like he almost gets himself going. Like he needs to trash talk to motivate himself. He's like, no one else is gonna do it, so I need to do it for me.
Oh yeah.
And you're so right. Like I love the fact that people can do that when they're on the court. They're able to trash talk, but they understand that it's just on the court. It's just in that moment. But it's not just them. It's the people around them too. Like the other teammates who the trash talk is directed at are like, okay, I get it. Tempers are flying, but this when we're off the court, everything's
exactly
good.
like, you don't need to fight. Like they didn't need to break out into a fight or anything like that. It's just some fun lighthearted trash talk, which I think is good.
Jimmy Butler has hit like a bunch of your topics already, but is he also your favorite personality?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I can't just be listening. This is going to become the Jimmy Butler show. But my favorite personality, and like this is somebody that maybe a lot of people might not know. Her name is Rashonda Gray. She's a WNBA player. She's currently not. She just got waived by the Sparks. But my experience with her has been with the New York Liberty. She was on the New York Liberty for a little bit, and in every media presser that she did with us, even a lot of them were after losses as well, because I was covering the Liberty when they weren't the super team that they are now. She was always having such a nice energy. She was laughing with us, even especially after losses. She was in such good spirits. She made it very easy to speak with her and do media after like losses that usually players like they get really frustrated about. And I think that just speaks a lot about her personality and the way that she approaches people with grace. I think it's made her a very likable player in the league, and I know that I will support her wherever she goes. So yeah, I chose her as best personality because I think it needs some more love to players like that who just make your life a little bit easier in difficult times and are nice to people no matter what, because you never know what someone else is going through.
No, for sure. It's so hard to come by, especially like, given her circumstances, her situation. She had no idea where she was going to, but she always just knew how to treat other people around her with the respect that she wanted in return. And for people like that, there's always a space in Toronto. And as we know, the WNBA needs to expand because people like her end up being set aside.
I'd love her in my locker room.
Right, exactly. But that shows you just how much talent there is out there. And that's the reason why they need to expand that moving forward. But hopefully one day, and hopefully in Toronto, and hopefully in our locker room. So we can hope for that. But moving on, you said best personality is Rashonda Gray, but who is the best friend in the NBA and the W?
See, I actually had to think about this for a little bit, because like I feel like there are a lot of people who are actually like pretty good friends, and I could probably put out a decent list, but I gotta go with my guy Kyle Lowry, because I was just thinking about the way that he was buddies with Jimmy Butler now in the Miami Heat. Like, look at them. They look like they're like two little kids in elementary school. You know, when like you sat next to your best friend in class and your teacher would have to like separate you because you're chatterbox. Like that is his energy. Like him with DeMar DeRozan too as well. I feel like he's so good at making these friendships, and he's a guy that you are on your team. Like even Jimmy had said before, like why have you guys been doing so well? Oh, because we got Kyle on our team.
Yeah, it's the gelling, it's the positivity, and it's also just the personality around you. And we've seen Kyle for how long? Like 8-9 years, right? And we've seen exactly how he's meshed with the locker room. Not even just meshed with them, but led them. The vibes with Kyle Lowry as the leader of his team, even after Kawhi Leonard had left, were insane. Like, you had no idea what's going to be coming next. But that's when the whole thing started, where they would have their intros and Lowry's dapping everybody up and he's doing his poses and having fun. And we used to be that fun team. And it's because of a personality like Kyle Lowry. And as you said, when you're someone like that, you have best friends all around the NBA. He was always talking and dapping everybody up and having post games and everything. But it could even lead us into the best bromance. So
see, I could have been like, oh, the best bromance is like Jimmy and Kyle, but no.
Oh,
there's
you got a new one for me?
There's a different bromance that I actually came to really love this season, which was Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks. They played together in college, and so this was the reaction when Jalen Brunson found out that Josh Hart was going to be on the Knicks. And that, to me, their relationship is so wholesome. They always do post-game pressers together. Josh Hart is always eating something.
There's pizza last time.
Yeah, there's like pizza, wings, and then Jalen Brunson would look over at him like, you're such a goof. And I love their bromance together. I think they're a great pair, and I'm excited that New York has got to like have them as bros on their team.
I think they're a budding pair together too. Like, obviously that friendship means a lot, and we've seen in our own history too that if you have a friendship with two players, like, that really bodes well for your on-court chemistry as well. So seeing that, I think Knicks fans should be super happy. And I'm just glad, like, getting to see, like, I know we get to enjoy players on the court and get to see them play, and we have the stats and the numbers, everything around it, but it's fun to see them as humans sometime and see that, okay, they have friends, they have a fun side, they can joke around. And I love, like, even being here talking to you about this stuff, because it goes beyond just the sport, and we get to really humanize these guys. Speaking of humanizing, we used to have great benches that would humanize our team. So who's your favorite bench mob?
Well, you can't say the word bench mob without saying the Raptors' old bench mob, the Norman Powell, when freaking Fred VanVleet was on it, like the vibes, DeLon Wright,
dude.
That year, I don't know if you remember when they all kind of sat together, even like Jakob Poeltl, who I guess we have back now, but when they all like sat together with like Serge, they did like an episode. I don't know if you remember. It was like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And they were kind of like reminiscing about how they're like older now, and like we don't have that anymore. And that was just, to me, like showing how the Raptors develop their players, like now that they're all like the stars and then the starters of the teams that they're on. To me, it's like very bittersweet to look back on it, because it's like, damn, like I love that group when they were together. I know we weren't like doing much with that bench mob, but to me it was like really special to see like those relationships forming.
Those were our regular season merchandise. You know, we would just sit the starters. We're like, okay, you know what? Third quarter is over. Fourth quarter, it's all the bench mob. And they would come in and, if anything, they would produce more offensively than the starters did. And now we're at a point where I'm like, no, literally. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, I'll take one guy off the bench from that 2018 bench mob just to give us something, you know, coming off of there. But I miss that. And you're right. Like, when you think bench mob, you really think the Raptors. I know people would say Spurs or whoever else, but for us, it really is the Raptors, because we were like, because now when you're here and you have nothing, you realize what that really meant for you.
Yeah. And hopefully they can like get back to that, so that we can get back to having like a good supporting cast, where the next thing we need is just like one or two more pieces, and then we're back into contention. That's what we need to do.
Well, we're going to be seeing all of that this summer. The Raptors are set to make hopefully a bunch of moves, because they do have some contracts expiring. They also have to bring in a new head coach. Not sure if we'll be seeing a different team, but we will for sure be seeing a new head coach, because we are required in that position. I'm Noor Zainab. This is Crina Mustafa. This has been In the Zone. We'll be back again next week with all the fun around the NBA and no stats. See you guys next time.